What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday, January 22nd. DK Show up on the air. Radio dials, a couple of those, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com, Google and Alexa home devices. Your app and the video stream also rolling, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. The Shoe Doctors bullpen, Shoe Doctors texting line up and rolling, 715-830-1912. Well, we might as well just get into it, shall we? No need to go over game plans or anything like that. It is a studs and duds Monday morning, though, so send over any studs or duds you may have, and I got a feeling where some of them may go. But nonetheless, just jump right into it on, shall we call it a reflection Monday. Packers falling Saturday night to the San Francisco 49ers, 24-21. Packers for about 55, 54, 53, whatever you want to say. Majority part of that game looked like that maybe, just maybe, they were going to shock the world again and upset the one seed on the road, the heavily favored one seed on the road, San Francisco 49ers. But the 49ers scoring with a go-ahead go-ahead touchdown with just over a minute left to go, and down 3. Packers not able to get it in a position to at least attempt a game-tying field goal. But don't need to really kind of rehash everything, right? We all know what happened in the final 6 minutes and change. Anders missing the field goal to go up a touchdown. 49ers taking it from there and going down and scoring a touchdown and securing the W. In a game that looked like Green Bay controlled for the most part. I mean, even though they were down at half by 1, just kind of felt like Green Bay was in control throughout the majority part of the game. Just not able to close it out. And, first couple drives coming away with field goals there. Not able to come away with touchdowns and such. 49ers defense holding strong in the red zone there. But now we got an offseason to look at. No doubt about it, this game, it stings, right? The loss stings. No way to kind of, sugarcoat or anything like that. And it's okay. It's okay that it stings. And for me, it's a good sting. When I kind of look back, I had to take a little bit. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't like after that game was over with, I was like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. No, it stung. It stinks. It stunk. I was a little down afterwards. Took me a little bit to kind of just had to step away and reflect. But because you're so close. You don't. So many. It's so hard to get to the big one, right? To get to the big game and to fall a little bit short to getting to an NFC Championship game. It stings. But like I said, I think it's a good sting because it's something that a lot of Packers fans, if not all, expected to happen. A lot of teams, a lot of fans would kill to be in a spot like this. And I think part of the sting of this whole thing is because it's the end of something that was so damn fun for the season, especially the last couple of games. It was so fun for the season. Easily will go down as one of my, a memorable season. When we look back at this thing, definitely full of ups and downs. I mean, it wasn't rose, peachy rose, whatever we want to say throughout the whole season. There was definitely some ups and downs. No doubt about it. There was that stretch in October where it was like, good God. And then, a little bit there in December against New York and Tampa, and then barely getting by Carolina. I mean, there was some downs. No doubt about it. No question about it. But it was also a lot of fun with this season, especially on the offensive side. And when you look at, closing out the season in Minnesota with a win, home against Chicago, winning in, then beating Dallas on the road, it stings because it's the end. It's like, boom, it's that quick. It's over with. And it was so fun these last few games. And then it's like, no, not anymore. And I know there's going to be a lot of what ifs that'll be talked about for a while. I think a lot of us have maybe, in the 24 hours after that game, probably thinking about it quite a bit. Like, man, what if? What if here? What if there? Guarantee you, coaches and players are probably still thinking about a lot of those what ifs. And there's going to be plenty of time to talk about firings or people that should be let go and that sort of stuff. There will be. And I know some people had that immediate reaction, but you know what? I was looking at a lot of the positives after taking a little bit away because it was a season, it was a roller coaster ride, but that answered a lot of questions for us and maybe even more questions, or answered a lot of stuff, maybe more than what we thought we were going to get answers for. And even when I look back at, the kind of the tough times in October or those stretches, maybe not at that certain point in time, because I mean, I know for sure it wasn't even at that certain point in time, but even looking back at it, even those times you could tell there was growth and learning from it. I mean, we answered a ton of stuff. Jordan is the quarterback of the future. That was the number one question heading into this season. Is Jordan Love the guy? Is he the guy? Green Bay didn't know it. We sure as hell didn't know it. I think we know it now. Jordan is our quarterback. LaFleur got better as a play caller, got better as a head coach. Goody knew what he was doing with those receivers, with a lot of those draft picks. And speaking of those receivers and tight ends, how do you not get excited about that? And I think what has me a little bit more excited too is that with how this season went, with how the season ended, expectations are going to be great next year and for years to come. There's no rebuild. No rebuild. No catching anybody by surprise next year. It's all about adding on, getting over the hump. And how can you not be excited about that? The expectations are going to be great for the next few years. It's playoffs. That's the baseline. It's making deep postseason runs. It's championships. It's not going to be a long rebuild, or it's not a rebuild anymore. It wasn't even that much. It wasn't even that long of a rebuild. How many other teams can go out there and say that? Next year, or at least this offseason, it's all about adding on to get over that hump, and then you're going in with high expectations for the upcoming season. So, yeah, it was a heartbreaking loss. It was a loss that probably still stings for a lot of people. And I know a lot of fans probably get tired of hearing about there's so much to be excited about for the future. But again, I don't think a lot of us expected to have the expectation that this team now is fully expected to be contenders as soon as this upcoming year. So have a dang, victory scotch or man cave light or a victory coffee for this morning and kind of reflect on a very weird, exciting, up and down season. We're heading into an off season where, hey, we don't have really any quarterback drama. The only thing that's probably surrounding quarterback drama is, and I wouldn't even call it drama, is like, okay, he's probably gonna get a new contract. Okay, well, whatever. It is what it is. That's the game that the NFL plays. But we don't have the off season of quarterbacks like, okay, is this the guy or not? Or okay, is he gonna say anything stupid in the media that's gonna cause some stuff? No, we don't have that. We've got a very good group of young, talented pass catchers, receivers, tight ends. Aaron Jones, how do you not bring that man back? You've answered some questions on the offensive line. I mean, obviously, the main question out there is going to be defensive coordinator. But for the most part, man, what a wild ride the season was. What an insanely wild ride it was. From the highs of September 10th beating the Bears, first game of the season, to the lows of, or to you know, the high of that comeback against New Orleans in week 3, to the lows against Detroit on Thursday, Vegas, Denver, Minnesota. Then the highs of the Chargers, Thanksgiving, Kansas City, lows again against the Giants and Bucks, and even a little bit with Carolina, and then the highs from the last few weeks here. What a flippin' wild, crazy ride it's been so far this year. So when you think back, I know it's not even 48 hours after the fact, but when you think back to this season, what's the one thing that really stands out to you? Try to be a little positive in this thing. I know maybe some will be like, kind of choose to look at the negative side of it, and we'll say, defensive coordinator and such. But if you could look back at it, and maybe the favorite parts of your season. How about that? Some of the favorite parts of this season for you. What would it be? Or what really stood out to you from this season? We'll kind of do a little reflection. We got plenty of time in the off season, and we'll probably start it as early as tomorrow. We'll break down position groups, we'll break down units, assess it, grade it, right? Kind of like what teams do at the end of their season. They look at each group, they do exit interviews with the players and the coaching staff and such, and then, decisions to be made afterwards. All that, all that up, and we'll do our own version of it too. So there will be plenty of time to talk about kicking, special teams, and defense and all that sort of stuff. But kind of a little bit more of a reflection Monday, kind of to close the chapter on this season for the green and gold, because there was a lot of positives to take away from this season. There was. And I don't think a lot of us, and if you're one of them that says, no, I thought it, you might be lying. You might be lying yourself, or you're just ever the optimistic like G-Man. But I don't think any of us thought here, if we rewind it to October, thought no way in heck would we be just maybe a few minutes away from advancing to an NFC championship game after beating the 1 and 2 seeds. Mm-mm. And I think Jordan Love, and obviously a lot of people are going to talk about that final throw he made, and it was a bad decision. He admitted it. It was the mortal sin of a quarterback. And you just hope it's another growing moment, something you can kind of learn from. But I don't think a lot of people would have expected Love to put up some of the numbers and look as good as he did, like he did this year. Not a lot of people expected that. So again, what really kind of stands out to you? What are maybe your favorite parts of the season when you kind of reflect back at it? And I'll be honest with you, after, watching that game on Saturday, getting into it with my little guy, even my wife was getting into it, hooting and hollering and such. It was like we were back to just a couple of years ago with the full-on expectations of like, we got to get to a bowl, man. We got to get to the bowl. We got to get to the Super Bowl. Did not expect to kind of have that mindset. I remember heading into this season, I was like, okay, no expectation. I'm going in with like I don't know what to expect. The only thing we wanted to see was I shouldn't say the only thing, but one of the main things we wanted to see was all right, what do we got with love? And flash forward to January 20th, and we're sitting at the edge of our seats on a late Saturday night thinking, holy crap, are we going to be going to an NFC championship game? And we were that close. That close. So I choose to look at a lot of the positives with this thing. So what really stands out to you? All right. What stands out to you the most? Start hitting me up with those texts. Okay. Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. 715-830-1912. Like I said, we'll have plenty of time to, look at the negatives or the down parts of the season, defensive coordinator and such. I know a lot of people are upset with the kicking game and a rookie kicker and Anders Carlson. We kind of knew it heading into the year that it was going to be a wave to ride and probably a lot of like a crap holding on to your breath sort of stuff. But we'll have plenty of time to kind of take a look at that stuff, no doubt about it. So let's get her going here this morning, okay? I don't know if we necessarily want to call it a therapy Monday or anything like that, but just kind of a reflection Monday there. Let's start to get some text in, all right? 715-830-1912. We'll take that first break and we'll get things going here again this morning. Talk a little green and gold. Don't necessarily need to, I think, recap what all went down in that game, but just kind of looking back at this season, your favorites, the positives that kind of stand out to you. Looking for that caffeine kick to get you going each morning and throughout the day? Hey, that's easy because you're looking for Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Whether you are in the mood for coffee, tea, or a nice energy drink, Cabin Coffee has something to help you get going in the mornings and throughout the days. Cabin Coffee also has a breakfast and lunch menu with a wide range of options for you to choose from to help keep you going, throughout your day. Don't settle for the low quality drinks and food to fill that energy void. Go for the fresh and high quality at Cabin Coffee in Altoona because you and your taste buds deserve so much better. All right. I got to say, I think this might be, and honestly, I can't remember another time where so many Packers fans are looking back positively on a season that ended without a Super Bowl win. You know what I mean? Like, ended short of a championship, ended short of getting to a Super Bowl. And for so many years, there was a lot of disappointment, maybe even some anger of how the seasons ended. Don't get that vibe this year, at least from a wide majority, from a majority of fans. It's awesome to see. And we get it because I think we see this team and a lot to be excited about with this team. Just a couple of messages to get here. How many of us is from Josh? How many of us projected the Packers to go to the playoffs before the season? It was a great season. Dustin saying, Dan, this might be the first time for me, but I wouldn't change a thing with the Packers. Re-sign them all and continue to let them grow together. This team, in my opinion, is special. G-Man, DK is back at a year, but I like the chances next year. It's hard to win in the NFL, and we did win a game in the postseason, and Jordan Love is our guy, and Aaron Jones is the guy for the Pack. Just think if the Pack will win the Super Bowl next year. Yes, sir. 37-30, Pack will win. There's an excitement. There's enthusiasm for this team. Fans get it. Fans recognize it. And I think we're all looking forward to next year already. Like, all right, we exceeded a lot of expectations this year. It was a stinger of a loss. It hurt, and it's okay to say, hey, great season, but still be down after that loss because they were so close. It's okay to feel both ways. I felt both ways. I was just like, damn, so close. So close. Like, I had to get away from my phone. I had a lot of messages, thoughts. One people thought, want instant thoughts. Friends wanted instant thoughts, and I'm just like, I can't do it right now. Gotta grieve for at least a little bit because it was so close. And the thing is, when it comes to sports and the postseason, your team falls short of a championship. That finality comes so quick. It's like, boom, done. Especially when it's a close game like that, and it's like, done. There's nothing more. So there's a little bit of a downtime there, but again, after you kind of reflect on the season and you kind of reflect at how everything went, it's like, man, what a year. What a year. And it's not a losing mentality by any means. We went into a season that so many question marks surrounding this thing. So many question marks. And there was a lot of those questions answered this year. Maybe even more that was answered than we expected. And that excitement for not only for, I would say, this upcoming season, but for the long term, you're feeling pretty good because you look at this and you see how many teams that move on, specifically from like a Hall of Fame quarterback. How many teams and salary cap, HE double hockey sticks. How many teams does it take for a little bit to kind of get out of that? Some teams are still, after how many years, still trying to find their next quarterback, still trying to get out of salary cap issues. You go last year from a team that had your Hall of Fame quarterback a game away from making the postseason. This year was supposed to be the rebuild year. Take your lumps and, just kind of like, all right, We're going to get through this. Going to get through a lot of dead cap hits. Didn't do a lot of free agent signings in the offseason. Just going to roll with it with the youngsters. And look how it ended. Look how it ended. So how do you not be excited? How can you not get excited for the upcoming season and for the future? I'm pumped. I can't wait. I can't wait for this offseason. I think again, we'll have plenty of time to talk about offseason moves and all that sort of stuff. But just initially, I feel like how this season went, maybe it changes things in the offseason too. Maybe it changes a little bit of approach. Like, oh wait, man, wait a minute now. We're maybe ahead of schedule here, and we can go for this thing right away. But plenty of time to hit that up. You know, looking back at this season, you know, the highlights for me, some of my favorite parts, or just kind of, you know, what really stands out to me. How do you not start with the quarterback? How do you not start with Jordan Love? I will be one of the very first to admit it. Wasn't happy about Jordan Love pick. It was very similar to me when I wasn't happy with the Aaron Rodgers pick. Got a quarterback in place. I want to win now. Okay? I'm like a lot of fans. I want to win now. I want to win every year. And I'll be honest with you, whenever that time comes, let's say Jordan Love is the guy for years to come. And right now it looks like it, but let's say 12 years from now, if Green Bay goes out there and drafts a quarterback in the first round while they still have Jordan Love and he's still playing at a high level, I'll probably be a little disappointed because I'm like, hey, I just want guys to help out that team. I'll probably always be like that way. Honestly, I probably won't learn my lesson. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to sit there and say, you know, blow smoke up your know what. I'll probably be a little disappointed. Jordan Love blew my expectations out the window. 100%. I am fully glad I was completely wrong. I didn't know what to expect from him this year. I wasn't high on that draft pick right away. No. Glad I was wrong. I know a lot of people were good with the pick, solid with the pick, that sort of stuff. Great. Awesome. You guys nailed it. Pat yourself on the back. I am glad to have been wrong. I'll admit it. But when I look back at this year, how do you not start with one of the things that stands out to you? With one of your favorite memories. How does it not start with the quarterback? Finishing seventh in the league in passing yards without having a 1,000-yard receiver. Think about that. Not having a single 1,000-yard receiver. And your most experienced receiver was second-year guys. Yet he finished seventh. Seventh in total passing yards. And when you look at the teams that finished ahead of Green Bay here a little bit, let's take a I'll get to that here in a second. Finish up with Jordan Love here and some of the stuff that he did. So seventh in passing yards, right? Second in touchdown passes. 11 interceptions. Not bad. Tied for 104th. Then you got that can't be right over there. That's no. I don't know why they got that on there. But top 10 in QBR, 62.1. Finished the season with a quarterback rating 96.1. Finished the season with a completion percentage of 64.2. When at the beginning of the year we were talking about dude's only getting like 50, a little over 50% of his completion. Yeah. But when I look back too at those receiving, or excuse me, those passing yards for Jordan Love, this is what I wanted to bring up. So the guys that were ahead of him in receiving yards, okay? the quarterbacks that were ahead of him. And you look at the receivers that they had to throw to. All right. So number one, Tua. He also had the number one receiver in total yard or receiving yards. Okay. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, 1,799. Jared Goff, number two in passing yards. Amon St. Brown, number three in receiving yards this year, over 1,500. Dak Prescott, number three in passing yards this year. Who do you have to throw to? The number two receiver this year in receiving yards, C.D. Lamb. Over 1,700 receiving yards. Okay. Number four, Josh Allen. He had Stephon Diggs, who finished 13th this year in receiving yards, over 1,000 though, 1,183. Brock Purdy, number five. He had a 1,000-yard tight end. He had a 1,000-yard receiver. Patrick Mahomes, sixth. The Patrick Mahomes might be the closest comparison to Jordan Love when it comes to 1,000-yard receivers. Closest one was a guy named Travis Kelce. Okay. So Patrick Mahomes also didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. Closest was Travis Kelce, 984. Might have had that in the final game of the year, though, if both of them would have played, if we're being real. Jordan Love's leading receiver this year was a rookie who finished with 793, 42nd most in the league, Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed finally had a 100-yard receiver twice at the end of the final two games. Then he had the postseason one with Romeo Doubs against the Cowboys there. But Jordan Love and then finishing second in touchdown passes. Second in touchdown passes. And Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs led the way with 8 apiece. We've wanted, when I say we, Packers fans have wanted for a long time to see an offense spreading the ball around. And it's not to discredit Devontae Adams or anything like that, because when you have a stud like Devontae Adams, yeah, you want to try to get the ball as much as possible to him because he can affect games. But for a long time, we've wanted to see an offense that spreads the wealth a little bit here. You got that this year. And to see them spreading the ball around, there was that. You're watching the game, you probably saw the graphic that came up, right? The leading receivers for every month. It was a different dude every year or every month. It was a different dude in September. It was a different dude in October, November, December, January. Now, I don't know if it's going to be like that for the next few years here, but wouldn't surprise anybody. Wouldn't surprise me. So when I look back at some of the memorable things or the things that stand out, it's clearly number one for me is Jordan Love and what he was able to accomplish this year. He answered that question if he's going to be the long-term guy. He is 100%. And he might get better. The other thing that really stands out to me, there's a lot, and I'm only going to highlight a few. The growth of Matt LaFleur as a play caller too. And I said it last week, and I firmly believe this, that, Matt LaFleur, when he was first hired, 2019, 2 years as an offensive coordinator, 1 year with the Rams, didn't call plays, and he goes to the Titans and calls plays, gets hired. And, yeah, part of the joke out there, like, oh, no, Sean McVay, so he's going to get a head coaching job, even though he was a little bit more under the Kyle Shanahan tree at that point. But he gets paired with a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. And when you look back at it, I think that was instrumental in the growth of LaFleur because, okay, kind of maybe a little bit of a crutch or a learning experience or just having the benefit of a veteran quarterback like that to maybe learn upon and kind of rely upon a little bit more. And after a couple years with Rodgers, couple MVP years, couple NFC Championship appearances, LaFleur's got some more experience. Not only were the Packers ready to move on from Rodgers and hand the ball over to Jordan Love, I think Matt LaFleur was ready for that to take on a little bit of a bigger role. Maybe like, okay, now it's time to really unleash what I want to do on offense. What I want to do on offense. That I've gotten a few more years play calling under my belt. Let's unroll it. Because I mean, think about it. Like even like Kyle Shanahan, how many stops did he have as an offensive coordinator and gaining the experience he had as an offensive coordinator before he became a head coach with the 49ers? Houston offensive coordinator, Washington offensive coordinator, Cleveland offensive coordinator, Atlanta offensive coordinator. To see the growth of Matt LaFleur as a play caller and to see the zone that he was in this final month of the regular season, how many times just kind of like feeling like he was a step above, a step ahead of the defensive coordinator. To see that, to finally see that offense, I think we were hoping to see for the last few years. Seeing that from LaFleur this year as a play caller. That's one of the things that really stood out to me this year too. The receivers, tight ends. You know, I think a lot of us were excited about Luke Musgrave as a rookie tight end coming in. Jaden Reed, I was excited about this year. But you had Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft, guys like Bo Melton stepping up. Those dudes really stand out to me from this year. Like, okay. The well was a little bit dry, you know. Had Devontae there for a little bit. Behind that, a little bit dry. Was Allen Lazard going to be a number one? I think a lot of us thought, he's not really a number one. Last year was kind of thrown into that number one role. Got himself a nice contract in the offseason. But I think a lot of us thought, I don't know if he's really necessarily a number one type of guy. And the well was dry. You know, Ted Thompson, when he was general manager, did a really great job of always kind of keeping that receiver well build up. Where one guy moves on, hey, you got another number one ready to go. Goody, not bringing in a veteran receiver this year to kind of lead this group, restocked that well. He's got it going, and those guys are going to grow with their young quarterback together. And, I mean, a lot of the stuff is going to be offensive, you know, related. Aaron Jones, again, a few weeks ago he said, I think I'm just entering my prime. And you're like, okay, yeah, chuckle. You just turned 29. You're running back. And by the time you get to that age, like, no. Just saying that because you want to stick around. You still want to get paid. You still want to play. The dude was on a run these last few games. Another 100-yard performance. 49ers, was it 51 games didn't allow a 100-yard rusher? Aaron Jones again, 100-yard rusher. You bring 33 back next year. How do you not bring 33 back next year? You don't bring 33 back next year. What in the heck are you doing? 33 looks like he's still a primo back. And I think, honestly, one of the more underrated backs in the league. I want that guy. This is the guy. He's your veteran leader, but he's also getting it done. He's also playing at an incredibly high level. So to see that from Aaron Jones, I thought at the beginning of the year, price tag on that, okay, Aaron Jones, probably not going to be back next year. Kind of part of that rebuild sort of thing. Nope, that changes. He's back next year. You got your right tackle figured out with Zach Tom. You probably got your left tackle figured out now with Walker. A lot of stuff that kind of stand out. Yeah, there's some negatives. There's the defensive coordinator stuff. Probably going to have a new one this year. But you got guys like Carrington Valentine, a 7th-round rookie, who I think is probably going to be a top 3 corner next year for the Packers. If not a starter, I don't know what what Eric Stokes is going to be like, but he's going to be in that running. But you got Carrington Valentine coming in, making some big plays, stepping up into that role, and having a pretty solid season. You had your other rookies of Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, part of a rotation, but playing really well in their limited snaps. And I know he was a first round pick, and the expectations are incredibly high for first round picks. But overall, Lucas Van Ness had a solid season. He was solid. Is he defensive rookie of the year candidate, Pro Bowl, all that? No. But as part of a rotation that was maybe getting 30 to 40 snaps a game, 30 to 40% of snaps a game, solid season. There's something to grow from there. I firmly believe that guy's going to get better following that path. Those are kind of the stuff that really stand out to me this year on a positive note. That has me really excited and pumped up for not just next year, not just this upcoming season, but for years to come for Green Bay. And I'll be very curious to see how this offseason transpires with these young guys because Jordan Love's going to get a contract. He's going to get paid. Okay. It's just the nature of the business. I know some fans will be like, oh, as soon as he gets paid, that's going to be the end of it because salary cap and that sort of stuff. It's the business. It's the nature of it. You don't have to like it, but that's what happens. But with that, I'll be kind of curious to see how not only this year, but maybe the next couple of years kind of go by because they're getting by without paying a top receiver, without paying a top tight end. They're going to move on from Bakhtiari. They'll get by without having to pay a top left tackle, without paying a top right tackle. So knowing that they don't have a whole lot of money invested in their skill position players on the offensive side and their left tackle and right tackle, they got money involved in their running back and quarterback. Do they go with that approach like, okay, we're still going to be aggressive maybe in free agency because we know we're getting by without or paying our receivers. Whereas you see some teams like, okay, we got a rookie quarterback. We're going to surround that guy with talent, getting by without having to pay him a big deal. So we're going to spend money elsewhere. It's worked for some, hasn't worked for a couple others. We can think of those teams, Chicago. But that's going to be the curious thing because they're probably going to give Jordan Love a contract this offseason. Contract extension. They don't have to, but they probably will. And knowing that Bakhtiari is going to come off the books, you got a left tackle, a right tackle that's still on a rookie deal, and all your tight ends, receivers still on rookie deals. That changed the offseason approach. Like, all right, plug in some different players here, maybe go after a safety. Take advantage of that. Let's take a quick break. What else? What else are you reflecting on this green and gold season? We'll get back to more text coming up in just a few minutes. New year, but still those same aches and pains. How about you do something about it this time? Make your appointment with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and start living that pain free and healthy life. That way, when summer does roll around, you'll be able to enjoy those outdoor activities pain free. Get started now by visiting cvosm.com to schedule your appointment. The entire team at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is dedicated to providing you with the care that you need to get back to living your life pain free. Got a few minutes yet to the top here. Believe we'll catch up with Justice Cleveland coming up around 7:30. Believe I haven't heard otherwise. So we'll catch up with him. There are a couple more texts to get to here. Surveyor Sam. First off, I want to say I couldn't be happier with how this team performed at the end of the season. Future is looking bright. Second, I want to discuss Anders Carlson and if he should be back. I went back and looked at every missed kick he had throughout the season, and it showed that he missed 12 kicks throughout the year. 11, one was blocked, and didn't miss a kick until week 7. That being said, 9 out of the 11 kicks were missed to the left and 2 to the right, and those 2 were during the Chargers game. That's telling me it's a mechanical issue, one that can be fixed. Don't give up on this kid yet. Might be the next great Packer kicker still. C-bomb. This wide receiver core didn't have a bona fide number 1, but they had 5 number 2s. That was better. Didn't funnel anywhere. 10 went to who was open. Impossible to defend that. This offense became so much fun to watch. The future is so bright. You said it on the X/Twitter. Looking back with excitement in a year we didn't win it all. Don't remember this feeling ever. It was awesome. What C-Bomb's referring to, something I posted on Twitter this morning, saying that I can't remember another time where there were so many Packers fans kind of looking back positively on a season that ended without a Super Bowl win. Fans get it, and it's awesome to see. This team has a lot to be excited about. Jeremy, dang great season for the Packers, and the future is bright. Heartbreak is needed in the learning arc. Saturday's game reminded me of the 09 playoff loss to Arizona. Pay love, Fireberry, be patient with Carlson, but bring in competition for him. Living a dream, Jeff. Good morning, Dan. I believe we have a great tight end tandem moving forward, which we really haven't had since the 90s. Very pleased with Walker as a left tackle. The entire offensive line grew and performed outstanding against a couple of the best defenses in the league during the playoffs. I do want a defensive coordinator who would use the cover cornerbacks we have in a manner where they could utilize their skills on a wide receiver versus a zone concept. That being said, I do believe the younger defensive linemen have grown this year and should only get better. I think we can upgrade at running back behind Jones. Living the dream, Jeff. All right, what else? I'm asking what really stood out to you from this past season and a positive thing. What are some of the things that when you look back at this year, and I know it's still kind of fresh. We're not 48 hours since that final game, but when you look back at this season, what are you kind of going to remember the most, you think, or what really stands out to you? All right. Think about that for a little bit. Hit me up with those texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. So the championship fields are set. Detroit will be visiting San Francisco. And then the Chiefs last night in another classic with the Buffalo Bills. Speaking of kickers missing field goals, Buffalo's kicker missing a game time field goal there. But it'll be the Chiefs visiting the Ravens. Winners of those games obviously will then be matched up against each other for the Super Bowl. All right, we got plenty more to get to here on this Reflection Monday. Keep your thoughts coming. Text it, tweet it, comment on the video stream if you'd like. We got some more to get to here. We'll be back, though, after these quick news updates. Second hour kicking off right now on this Reflection Monday, shall we call it? DK Show up on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. We'll get back to a couple more texts, including one texter saying, kind of saying that Joe Barry should be back. Doesn't understand why so many Packers fans want him gone. Again, we'll have a lot of time to kind of off-season stuff. I don't want to turn this into a Joe Barry debate Monday or anything like that, but also got from Brian here on the video stream. We'll get to his thoughts here in just a sec, but we got to kick off this hour like we normally do with some sports nuggets of the day. Let's go with 19. Oh man, there's some minor ones. How about 1968? The NBA awarded franchises to Milwaukee and Phoenix. 1973, Joe Frazier lost the first fight of his professional career to George Foreman. He had been the undefeated heavyweight world champion since February 16th, 1970. Reggie Jackson, 1982, free agent's time, ended 5 seasons as a New York Yankee when he signed a 4-year contract with the California Angels. Let's go with 1998. Minnesota's new NHL franchise selected the nickname The Wild. And Pat Summerall announced in 2002 that he would leave his NFL broadcasting partner, John Madden, after they called the Super Bowl for Fox Sports. The two had worked together for 21 years. 2003, when he was with the Wizards, Michael Jordan became the third highest all-time scorer in the NBA. 2006, Kobe Bryant scored 81 points against the Toronto Raptors. It was the second highest point total in NBA history. We know the 100 points from Wilt Chamberlain in 1962. And in 2020, the Raiders officially relocated to Las Vegas. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day. Let's go, James. I think people are nuts wanting to get rid of Joe Barry. At the beginning of the season, Douglas, Alexander, and Stokes were the best corners on the team. They barely played a full season combined. Brian on the video stream this morning. Aaron Jones is one of the main reasons why the Packers were so successful down the stretch. When there was a running threat, it opened up the passing game, and Jordan Love flourished with Jones being back. Great last 2 years of drafts, and with multiple picks in the top 100, we can only get better. I wish I had saved this because everything in sports world has some analytical thing out there, right? And I had seen this a couple weeks ago. I wish I could find it here, but I didn't save it. But nonetheless, it was some sort of formula somebody had figured out that where it combined draft capital and like free agent money and free agents and all that sort of stuff. And the Packers had were top 5. I want to say third, but like top 5 in terms of like off season ability to do a bunch of stuff in the offseason, like offseason capital, if you will. A lot of it was because of their draft picks. I mean, they got their own first round pick. They're going to have the Jets' second round pick, which is going to be a little bit higher since they didn't make the postseason. They got their own second round pick. They've got the Buffalo Bills' third round pick in that Rasul Douglas trade. Buffalo losing yesterday makes it a little bit higher for the Packers. Plus their own third, picks in there too. So yeah, Brian's right. They've got multiple picks in the top 100. Whether they use those picks for their own players, package it, move a little bit higher here or there, who knows? But yeah, when you look at it right now in terms of draft capital, they got something. They got a few things in there that that could be pretty interesting to watch throughout the offseason and when we get to the draft coming up there too. So, but the question we're kind of asking is when you look back at this year, you look back at this season, something that really stands out to you the most? Is there something that's just kind of jumps out to you the most, or what maybe is some of your favorite memories of the season? Did something happen this season that you maybe didn't fully expect outside of a playoff appearance and maybe outside of winning a playoff game? But was there something that you were so like, you gotta rewind, and it's okay to admit if you were off on this. But was there something when you look back at this year and kind of rewind it to the beginning of the year where you're like, no, that ain't gonna happen, or I don't have a lot of confidence that this is gonna happen. And then boom, it happened. Was there something that just like, I can't believe that actually happened? It surprised the heck out of you. Maybe take the postseason part out of it. So I was thinking about this the other day, and I think for me, it's I'll go back to it. I think it's the receivers and the tight ends. I think we were excited about the potential for it to be there. And Jordan Love too, I think putting up the numbers that he did is easily at the top there too. But if I guess if I take away the postseason and I take away, you know, the emergence of Jordan Love or Jordan Love answering the questions of whether he's going to be the long-term starter or not, I think it's just what we saw from this receiver group as a whole. We got a glimpse of it last year with Watson and Dobbs, right? But then you add in Jaden Reed, you add in Dontavian Wicks, you add in Luke Musgrave, you add in Tucker Kraft, and there was excitement about Musgrave, and there was some excitement about Reed. But to see what they were able to do in their first years, I think to me that's what really is like, wow, okay. They didn't have a veteran guy in there. How is this going to work out? That to me is like that kind of maybe blew out my expectations. If I'm taking away Love in the postseason. Love is probably number one for a lot of people. Let's be real here. Okay. Let's call it what it is. What Love was able to do this year, numbers wise, looking at his play down the stretch, I how do you not put Love at number one? Outside of that, for me, it's got to be the youngsters, the pass catchers over there. I mean, we've got veteran quarterbacks of like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Those guys are the talk of the league. Lamar Jackson probably going to win MVP this year. But if you're the Packers with Jordan Love and you're the Texans with CJ Stroud, you got to be feeling pretty darn good about the futures of your teams here too. You got to be feeling pretty good right now. Oh man, a couple more texts to get to here. Mike here. Love how this young offense continues to grow up together. The defense improved as well. Fun to watch what appears to be a true LaFleur offense. Spread the ball around, not not one quarterback going to one receiver. I didn't have high expectations. So to get this far and play this well, especially taking San Francisco to the brink, was great. Um, yeah. The thing that surprised me the most was how successful our offense was with first and second receivers and tight ends by far. All right. So keep those coming. Keep your thoughts coming. 715-830-1912 on that texting line over there. We've got a tweet here. This looks like this is it from Greg over there? Um, Completely agree with your thoughts on can't remembering another time where so many Packers fans were um, so optimistic about the future after a season. It's really great to see from Packers fans, but the team deserves all the credits. You're right. Yeah, it's the team that deserves all the credits over there. No doubt about it. 100%. And for when you look at this season, this young team got a taste of it, right? They got a taste of some success. They got a taste of being close to getting to an NFC championship game. That taste Got to imagine they want a little bit more of it, right? For all the talk about, hey, these youngsters don't know any different. They don't know. They don't know what they're doing right now. They don't got a care in the world. All the pressures are on. All the pressures on Dallas. All the pressures on San Francisco. These youngsters, they don't got a care in the world. But I guarantee you, right now, those youngsters, those guys, they got a taste of it, and they want more of it now. They were close. That feeling that they got right away, like, man, we want to get to the, that's got to be motivation. That's got to be motivation for those guys for this offseason, for the next few years, to be that close. To be that close. You got that shot of Christian Watson and Bo Melton after the game sitting on the bench, kind of watching that celebration, the looks on their faces of like, what just happened here? Like, man, the disappointment. Use it. Like Rashawn Gary apparently told the locker room afterwards, remember this feeling. Remember this feeling for next year and how close they were. Use that. And he's completely right. He is 100% right. And I know I said we'd have plenty of time to talk about the offseason and such, and we'll get to it in the coming days and such. I do wonder, with how this team performed, with what they were able to do this year, does it change maybe some of the decisions on some other players going forward? Because, you had talks about Preston Smith. Should they move on from him? You had it at the trade deadline, right? There was some talks, hey, could Preston Smith be traded? Could he be on the outs? You draft a Lucas Van Ness to kind of, come in and maybe eventually replace him. Now, when you look at 2024, he's got a cap hit of $16.5 million. You move on from him, you're only saving about a couple million, 2.5, because he's got a dead cap of 13.98. Eventual out could be 2025 when he's got a cap hit of 17.5 and dead cap after that. But does it change maybe decisions for guys like that? Does it change decisions maybe on a guy like a Darnell Savage? That's going to be interesting to kind of follow, I think, in the coming years. Because according to like Spot Track here, it says potential out for Preston Smith could be this year. It potentially could be this year. I don't know. I think I want him around for another year. I'd like him around another year, especially with, Enoch Barre tearing his ACL in that postseason game. He ain't going to be ready for the start of the season. I shouldn't say that, but odds are he won't be ready for the season. Have a little depth there. Why not? Why not? I was wrong about the offensive line, Surveyor says. I thought that besides Tom and Jenkins, this offensive line was hot steaming garbage. I have to say Walker stepped up huge, especially as a 7th rounder. Goody did it again. But I really hope the team addresses center. Sorry, but not sorry. Yeah, the Myers one it was such an interesting topic throughout the season. I don't know if this is kind of what you're referring to, Surveyor, but there was you hear from coaches and the Packers, and they were like on a love affair with Josh Myers, and then you had like the film people saying, not that good. Packers maybe putting a little public PR out there, but I think it's fair to say Josh Myers had his best year, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was a great year. You know what I mean? Like it might have been his best year. That still doesn't mean it was a fantastic year. I think going forward in the offseason, center and then right guard John Runyon, I believe, is a free agent. So does that just make open for your boy surveyor Sean Ryan to step in full time over there too? But I know they played around with Zach Tom in the preseason and training camp as center. Thought, okay, is there a little competition? Don't move Zach Tom. Don't 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 move Zach Tom off right tackle. I want my bookends at left tackle and right tackle solidified. Don't mess with that. Keep those two over there. Keep them over there. So, not gonna get into draft talk right now. So sorry about that, Mike. But I don't wanna look into the draft right now. This is Reflection Monday. Want to kind of take a look at. We've got plenty of time for draft and all that sort of stuff. But that's we got plenty of time for that. So just kind of looking back at the game and this season overall. Again, what was maybe one thing that, or maybe a couple things that you went into the season thinking, nope, no confidence, nothing. This isn't going to be good. This is going to be bad. And then you were pleasantly surprised, like, dang, all right. Far exceeded my expectations over there. So we had the offensive line from Surveyor. We had a couple of you already chiming in with the quarterback, and I figured that would probably be the biggest one over there. Nick is saying easily Jordan Love for me. I'll admit it, I wasn't a Jordan Love fan. Didn't think he would be the guy, but boy, oh boy, was I wrong, and I'm okay to admit it. Eric also saying Jordan Love. Jordan Love by far exceeded any expectations. I was willing to give it a shot. I wasn't. Excuse me, I wasn't that excited about the potential considering what we saw all these years in training camp in the preseason. But that man went out and balled out. Future looks bright. We got David also going with Jordan Love, saying Jordan Love by far was the highlight of the season. Sure looks like Green Bay's got their quarterback of the future for the next 10 plus years. I know it's just 1 year, and we probably shouldn't put a whole lot of pressure on the kid's shoulders, but how can you not be excited from what you saw from him this season? You're right. I mean, hopefully the arrow continues to trend upward. Hopefully it continues to get better. Hopefully from what we saw this year from Love, we'll kind of go in that same direction. We don't know, but all signs point to yes. Right? All signs point to yes. Keep your thoughts coming. All right, so we got to take a quick break here. We'll get back to more of your texts, your comments on a little reflection Monday here. Looking back at this season, the positives, what really stood out to you? What were your favorite moments from this season? It's that time of year where we may be stuck indoors for a bit, so you need to make sure those pantries of yours, that refrigerator, and those freezers are fully stocked. How do you do that though, while also saving some money? Easy. Just stop on over Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Whether it's stocking the pantry with soups or dried goods, or loading up the deep freezer with pizzas and frozen foods, Hy-Vee has the best selection to help keep you stocked during those winter months. Or if you just need a quick bite to eat, grab something from the food court or the deli area. And with their Hy-Vee perks, you'll be able to save money at the register and the gas pump. Stock up on your favorite grocery items and save money with Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. All right. Hopefully, I still believe we'll get to hear from Justice here in just a little bit. So if I have to take a little bit of an earlier break, it's because I have to go unlock the front door and let them in once I get that text over there. But a few more messages to get to here. A lot of positivity from Packers fans here this morning. This one is from Nick. Nick is saying, definitely far exceeded my expectations this year for the Pack. Uh, Definitely a heartbreaker Saturday night, but looking back at it, how can you not be thankful for this season and excited for the future? Also have Matthew with the text in here on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. Matthew saying, "What a season!" Like you said, had some ups and downs, some down parts earlier on, but the way the season ended in the regular season and the win against the Cowboys and then being so close to the 49ers definitely far exceeded my expectations. Football is fun again. Can't wait already for this upcoming season. This one is from Chris. Chris saying, Lions fans, you better hope you win your Super Bowl this year because the pack is back, Jair voice. This team is going to be a threat again for the next for the foreseeable future, excuse me. So Lions fans, you want your Super Bowl, you better get it this year because you ain't getting it anytime soon with how well the Packers look. All right, you got a little trash talk there with the. I guess not necessarily. Well, maybe a little trash talk there with the line and such. But all right, there you go. Saying, hey, you better get it now before the pack is going to be back there for the next while here. We got another message here. This one is from Doug. Doug is saying, I really, really enjoyed this season. Not having to worry about off the field drama with the quarterback, not having to worry about other drama issues surrounding this team. Yes, there was some down years, no doubt, or down games, excuse me, no doubt about it. But future looks bright. That seems to be the common theme from so many Packers fans out there right now is future is bright. And that's the thing. Think about it. Really wasn't. Do you even call this year a rebuild? What do we call this year? This was supposed to be a rebuild this year. Do you still call it a rebuild, or do you call a team that was maybe a couple plays away from going to the NFC Championship a rebuild year? And maybe you do call it a rebuild year and say that's how we do it in Green Bay. In our rebuild years, we still make the postseason and still go to it. I don't know. I'll be honest. In my nearly 40 years of life, I've not experienced. A little bit there in the 80s, but I was too young to remember it. But in my nearly 40 years of life, I've not had to go through a bunch of rebuilds or long rebuilds. Honestly, the longest stretch might have been 05 and 06. A little bit there. Maybe. It was like Mike Sherman's final year, Mike McCarthy's first year. Then 07, they surpassed so many expectations and went to the NFC Championship game. But I haven't gone through a whole lot of stuff, and I don't want to. Call it a spoiled fan or whatever. And I know some fans like to wear it as a badge of honor, saying, "Hey, you didn't go through those 70s, and you didn't go through the majority part of the 80s there." Good. I don't want to. I never want to go through that. And right now, I haven't gone through that, so I don't want to. Cool. Don't want to. Odds are I probably will at some point. You'd think at some point I would. But right now, I haven't. And I'm okay with that. Would like a little bit more Super Bowl titles during that stretch and just to be a little bit greedy there. I'd like a little, maybe a couple more um, you know, uh Lombardis in that trophy case. I like this. Reaffirm year. That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you to the texter. Are we still calling you? Is it Smuck? That's what it's listed on here. Reaffirm year. I like that. Jake from State Farm. We don't rebuild, we reload. I like it. I like this. Doug, what a great year for the young crew. Bright future for the next few years. I'm just glad the Lions didn't play the Packers in the playoffs. All right. I like the reaffirm year. I like that. All right. Maybe we won't have JC. What the heck? Oh, let me shoot him a text. Let me shoot him a text here. Keep these texts coming, though. All right. Okay. Okay. Smuck says, "Yep." All right. I like it. Reaffirm yours. I think the leader, Jake from State Farms is good though too. We don't rebuild. We reload over there. Looking back at the season, we've been asking what really stood out to you the most. Obviously, Jordan is the leader in the clubhouse, but was there something else? Was there something else from this season that really stood out to you the most, or really kind of surpassed your expectations? Again, Jordan is the leader in the clubhouse for a lot of this stuff. A lot of this. But if there was something else, like we've had offensive line kind of stand up. We've had receivers as a pick. Is there something else that maybe kind of stood out to you? We had Dave, who's saying the rookies in general didn't expect a lot of production from rookies this year, but boy, did they step up, and a lot of them at different parts of the season. That's a good one. We can roll with that one too. Absolutely, man. 100%. Boy, was this season fun. That's the downer for me. It's like it. I know all good things come to an end, man. But man, this was so fun to kind of watch. I don't know who just said it. I could look back, but I just minimized it. Football is fun again. Football was fun this year. Even the down moments in October, and we had them. We talked about them. Right? It was frustrating. It was like, what is going on? What is Jordan doing throwing those picks to Christian Watson in the end zone? What's the issues here? The offense just like what is going on with the floor and all that. Looking back at that, and you're just like, you know what? Maybe that was a growth moment. Maybe that had to happen. Maybe those down parts of the offense in October had to happen for this team to kind of get to where they were at this point in time. Maybe that was the case. All right, let's take another break here. We'll finish up the second hour, but please keep your texts coming. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. We got a lot to get to here yet, so we'll take a quick break. More to get to. Hit me up, baby. 715-830-1912 with those texts, tweets at DANKSPR. Comment on the video stream, Facebook. I want to hear from you. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Temperature's going to be warming up this week. So if you're maybe a little too afraid or didn't want to mess with the cold weather and getting those grills out, hey, no excuses now. So head on over to Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire, because whether you're looking for steaks, burgers, brats and snacks, sticks and jerkies that have so many different flavored options, you'll never run out of different ones to try. They got just what you look for. I'll be stopping over there later today to grab some brats to fire up on the grill this week. Plus, they've got freeze-dried candy now. So are you hungry for the best cuts and flavor in town? Just go give Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire on the west side of Eau Claire a visit to load up maybe some of your deep freezers and all that stuff. Or maybe if you're thinking about big game in a couple weeks, firing up the grills and such. We've got a few more texts to catch up on here and comments on the video stream here. James, not only am I proud of this team and happy with this season, I am so looking forward to the offseason. Can't wait for draft speculation, free agents, and please keep Aaron Jones. What struck me about this season, I've never seen a bigger in-season turnaround of a team. This team has character. The pack is back. Also, Jeremy saying that overall a ton of things stuck out, but I am also going to remember the Jair captain debacle and winning the coin toss and putting the foot on the gas with taking the ball. Such a fun year. Can't wait for September. Peter, are we setting next year's expectations at a Super Bowl or at least an NFC Championship appearance? Why not, man? Why not? I'm all for it. Heck yeah. I fully believe if you are the rest of the NFC or you are the what should we say, rest of the teams in the league, you're taking notice of what Green Bay did this year, and you're taking notice of what could be what could be to come. That receiving group, their offensive line play, their quarterback, Aaron Jones looking like he hasn't lost a step. You do have players on the defensive side. Green Bay's not going to catch anybody by surprise next year. But I guarantee you the league has taken notice of Green Bay and be like, oh, crap. Here we go again. They're going to be another team. They're going to be a team to reckon with again. Peggy, what sticks out to me is the team's camaraderie. Did Jordan Love create that by having players gather at his house and spending time with him during the offseason? I don't know if it was that. I think it was mostly just, and Matt LaFleur, I think, was the one who kind of talked about this too. I think it was just everybody's of similar age. You didn't have a quarterback, and not to keep harping on the Rodgers thing, but I do think it was something there. I mean, you've got future Hall of Famer who's done it for how many years, has done it a specific way, a certain way. I think there was just kind of maybe a little bit of a personality gap, an age difference there. You bring in a young quarterback, you got younger receivers to go with to pair up with him. There was just that natural connection, I think. There was that natural connection with him. And there was a lot of, look at how many times, every game did they mention youngest team in the playoffs, youngest team to make the playoffs, youngest team to win a game in the postseason since 1970 something. I just think there was that age, as young as and inexperienced as they were, also benefited them just by connecting on and off the field. I think that's part of it. We got some more text to get to here. Don't have a name for this texter, but saying Jordan Love definitely far exceeded my expectations for this season. Definitely was one that didn't have a whole lot of faith in him, but man, was I completely wrong, and I'm A-OK with that. We've got Sean. I missed this one a little bit earlier. Sean from Eau Claire. Hey, Dan, positives from the season. Offensive line, corners, young studs at receiver and tight end, and Love's rise. I've never been sold on him as the guaranteed long-term starter, but I can't deny the potential. But the best part is it looks like the Packers have their third good quarterback in a row, and the Bears can't get one. Again, that's from Sean from Eau Claire. Are you still going by project manager, Brian, here? It's been a little bit. But now that we've exceeded everyone's expectations on the pack, 3 biggest items to address. 1, lock up Aaron Jones, get a kicker based on number 3, based on how the D performed in the last 5 games. Does Barry go? I'm not a fan of his, but you could argue for him to stay. We'll get to that, maybe in the next couple days here or so. A lot of talk for the offseason and such, but again, reminder too, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the whole contract not renewed sort of thing, but we can call a spade a spade. If the contract's not renewed, it's the same thing as kind of getting fired and that sort of stuff. So, but we'll have plenty of time in the offseason to get to that, and believe me, that will be a topic and a question moving forward this week. We're having a little reflection Monday, kind of looking at some of the positive stuff and taking a look at this past year or this past season, and kind of highlighting the positives, the best moments, or your favorite, or what really stood out to you, or what was the biggest surprise to you for this season. What was the biggest surprise for you this season? Or what has you maybe the most excited for the upcoming season? A lot of different stuff. I mean, we could come up with a list. It's love. It's the youngsters. It's this. It's that. But man, what a year. What a year. What are you going to... Here's something I just thought of. And I really want to get your reaction to this. Okay, I want your thoughts on this. So hit me up with a text. But because a lot of you have already said, oh man, I can't wait for the offseason, or bring on September already. You're so excited. You're so pumped up about this team and what it looks like. So let me ask you, from now until the summer, what's going to get your focus? Do you transition to the Bucks? Do you start to get ready for baseball? Are you going to pay more attention to college hoops here? Because a little bit of a different, it's a different feel this offseason for Packers fans. Like I mentioned it earlier in the program. I don't remember another year in my lifetime where so many Packers fans are looking back positively on a season that ended without a Super Bowl win, because they know the potential of this team. They're excited about this. It exceeded expectations this year, and you're assuming, you're expecting it to get better. I'm one of those too. So it's a different type of offseason. It's not an offseason filled with frustration or annoyance or drama or anything like that. And we're ending the season on kind of a down note. It's a bummer. But I feel like we're ending this season more on like that quote unquote bummer feel, as opposed to other years where it was just angry. We were angry 2 years ago when they couldn't beat the Lions at home to get into the postseason. We were angry because Rodgers made that throw, or they did this. We were angry the year before when the 49ers beat them in the division round at Lambeau, blocked punt, chucking the ball down the field to Devontae when Alan Lazard was open. We were angry in the NFC Championship game against Tampa Bay. We were angry in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers when Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball like 10 times and they couldn't stop the run. We were angry those days after. This year, we're bummed, but we're happy. We're like excited. So it's a little bit of a different feel this offseason. It's got that different feeling. So for you as a fan, how are you approaching this offseason? Where are you going to direct that attention to? Is it just, what? Football season's over with? Okay, what's next on the list? Let's flip. Oh, yeah, Bucks and Badger hoops. Okay. On to the next. We got spring training coming up here in what, a month, less than a month. Brewers has kind of been a quiet offseason. Are we going to get some more stuff happening down the wire here? Kind of getting ready for that. Jackson Cheerio, excited to see with him. Are we going to see him right away, or are you paying a little bit more attention to this Bucks or to this Packers offseason because of where the arrow is trending with this team? Are you going to pay a little bit more attention to it? Because you want to see, okay, are they active in free agency in March? Because, hey, now, expectations, whoop, higher. So are they going to be a little bit more active? Obviously, everybody's going to be paying attention to the defensive coordinator moves. Draft is always a popular thing now, but with draft capital for the Packers, how many in the top 100? There's a different feeling amongst the majority of fans, of Packers fans, after this season compared to how many other years that didn't end in a Super Bowl. 2010, 2011, obviously, different feeling. We won. Packers won. Top of the world. Not really anything to complain about. Year after that, 15-1 season. Lost in division round, first playoff game. 2014, losing the NFC Championship game against Seattle. 16, losing the NFC Championship game against Atlanta. And with this year, not getting to an NFC Championship game, not getting to the Super Bowl, all the years where it's been anger, frustration. You're upset. It's different this year. More maybe appreciative. More like, all right, let's go, baby. Surveyor focus now and always has been college basketball and the draft. There is no better thing in sports than March Madness. And come on, looking at the boatload of college players and getting your draft crushes is so much fun. For all of you who like the NFL draft, I'm one of them. When do you start to really get into it? Is it after the Super Bowl? And part of me is kind of just like wondering, like, okay, when do you guys want to start talking about the draft? When do you want to start talking about this thing? When do you want to start talking about mocks or positions of need coming in the draft? Because I don't want to annoy you. I could talk about the draft now if you wanted to, but I won't. But where do you guys start to focus in on that? Is it the combine, February? Is it immediately after Super Bowl? Is it like not till April? I mean, some of you already are texting me now who they should draft or what position they should put in the draft. But now that the season, when do you really start to kind of focus on that? Surveyor, let's talk now. Jake from State Farm. Anybody worried about the sophomore slump with the majority of our guys? Might be too early to ask fans with the recency, but it's a good question to throw out to see if anybody believes in a sophomore slump or with the coaching staff or with our coaching staff erase the theory on that. Well, what do you guys think? So, all right, studs and duds. Who are your studs and duds? Hit us up. We'll get to that coming up in just a few minutes after the top of the hour here. I'm sure a lot of you will probably have Green Bay on there or some sort of fashion with the players on there. But nonetheless, if you got any studs and duds, text those puppies on over 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Jake says, different Jake says, 2 weeks of mourning, then draft in February. Shot clock's going to cut me off here, so we'll get studs and duds. We'll get back to some green and gold. Bucks are in action tonight, too. If you're transitioning into kind of hoops, the Bucks are back in action tonight, going up against Detroit again. Bucks got the victory Saturday against the Pistons. Damian Lillard had himself a game. We got two big games coming up later this week for the Bucks, both at home. Cleveland Wednesday, Cleveland Friday. So we got that. We'll hit up Badger hoops. They got a win over the past weekend as well. So kind of another weird week in college hoops. right? Weird week in college hoops. All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back after these news updates. Studs and duds. Who's your studs and duds? Hit us up. All right, third and final hour on this Reflection Monday. Coming up, we got some studs and duds here. We got a couple of you texting in your studs and duds. So we'll get to that here. Continuing reflecting on not only just the game, but the season at hand here. Your general thoughts on this Packers season now that is officially over with. Your thoughts. Hit us up with those texts 715-830-1912. All right, or you can hit us up on the video stream. Twitter at DANKASPER, all that good stuff. I don't know what you're referring to here, Doug, when you say reflect on the season right around Thanksgiving time. I don't understand that. We got Jake also saying stud Joe Barry, though I still want him gone. Dud Rich Bisaccia. Never thought I'd be saying that. I know a lot of people, obviously, Anders Carlson's going to be a talking point here for a little bit. And I know a lot of people are kind of pointing a finger at Rich Bisaccia for sticking with Anders Carlson. I will say this. I don't think it was Rich Bisaccia's full-on decision. I'm sure he had some input, but it wasn't like he could bench him for another kicker. We didn't have another kicker on her, so I not to completely scapegoat Rich Bisaccia because there was other issues. Especially we talked about him. Penalties and all that stuff, but it wasn't like he could just bench Anders Carlson for another kicker. Front office had to bring in somebody, and that I'm sure will be something we'll talk about when we kind of take a look at recapping this season and looking forward to here in the coming days and such. But yeah, I don't know what I feel like Anders is still going to be the kicker for next year. But do they bring in some veteran competition for him this year? I think you have to, at least in camp. All right, let's do some studs and duds here. I'm just going to make it pretty darn easy for my studs here. Green Bay. Thank you for this season. Thanks for the memories. No, just kidding. But no, this season throughout the ups and downs, throughout the waves, the roller coaster of emotions and the frustrating parts, the highs, the lows. It was a hell of a season. I'll be honest. I didn't expect to be still talking about a game, preparing for a game towards the end of January, and we did. We got there, and there's so much excitement for this offseason, for this upcoming year. Studs, I'm just going Green Bay as a whole. I'm going to keep it simple there. I'm going to keep it simple. It was a heck of a run this year. And can we bring on September right now, baby? Because I can't wait to see this team pick back up. And I know somebody said, sophomore slump in that. I think we don't know. There's examples of both sides of that thing. I just feel like that taste that they got and how close they were, that's got to be the motivating factor in this whole thing. And I think they will use it. I think they're going to use it. I think my duds, I'm going to go with this. Buffalo. Come on, man. You've beaten the Chiefs in the regular season, the last 3 years, but you can't beat them in the postseason. You finally got them at home. And you can't beat them. You can't beat them. That window, we talk about championship windows for teams, right? We've been talking about Buffalo's championship window for the last few years. How quickly is that shrinking right now? I'll be honest, I don't know contract statuses, Stephon Diggs or all those other guys and that sort of stuff. But come on, you guys, you got Kansas City in the postseason in your house. You can beat them in the regular season. You got to take that next step. You want to be a champion, you got to take that next step and beat these championship caliber teams in the postseason. And he didn't get it done last night. Didn't get it done. And now you got another offseason coming at you. Like, what do we do now? How do we take that next step? How do we get over that hump? So that those are my duds. I'd have to go the Bills. I'd have to go Bills. So um, I will look up those percentages later. I can't do that right now, Dave. I don't have anybody to, kind of fill in the time here. So I'll do that on a different time here. But otherwise, feel free to go do it yourself. But some other studs and duds. Studs, this is from Greg. Studs, Jordan Love, and the season that he had. Big thanks to 10 for making it a memorable season. We've got duds. uh, duds. They're going to go with they're also going with the Buffalo Bills, but for some words I can't say on the air here, man. But we'll just say we'll keep it clean and just say Greg's also going with the Buffalo Bills. There, I won't go with the other stuff. I can't say it on the air, man. So another studs and duds here. Studs. This is from Eric Studs. I'm going with the Pack. What a fun season it was. Can't wait for next year. Duds. Anders Carlson. Man, I hope the kid can figure out his issues. Hopefully, he can have a long career, but that's got to be a heartbreaker for him, and nobody's going to hurt more than he is going to be this offseason. All right. There you have it. Your studs and duds this weekend for this week. Some more messages to get to here. This is one of my favorite seasons that I can remember. Was it the most successful? No, but I had a lot of fun watching football this year with this team. There was definitely a lot of frustrating moments earlier on, but looking back at it now, hindsight 2020, this was one of my favorite seasons that I can remember watching the green and gold. Can't wait for the upcoming season. Another texter here saying, what is your Super Bowl matchup that you would like to see now? I'll throw that out to everybody else. How about that? Do you have an ideal Super Bowl matchup with these final four? Lions versus the 49ers, Ravens versus the Chiefs. Do you have an ideal one? Not necessarily. I'm not asking you to pick a winner or anything like that, but do you have an ideal, I guess, matchup? So keep those coming. Okay. We'll take a quick break. We'll get back to more. We got a few more messages to get to here, but reflecting on this past season, reflecting back on it, what what stands out to you the most positively? What's your favorite moment from this season? Was there a certain moment that you had, or was it something in general? Maybe it was a certain game. Was there something that just really stands out to you? Was there something that really stands out to you? All right. Hit us up 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Jason saying if it's Lions and Chiefs in the Super Bowl, no way in heck am I watching that thing. I don't want to see Taylor every time the Chiefs make a play, and I can't root for a division opponents. We got Chris saying, I'm going with 49ers and Ravens, 2-1 seeds. I'd rather see the two best teams go at each other in the posts or in the Super Bowl. Matt saying, I do not want the Lions to get in there. I want them to continue to suffer without a championship. Bull crap about the feel good story for them. All right, going that route there. We got another texter saying, please, for all that is good, don't let it be the Chiefs. I can't stand the amount of coverage that they got last night and throughout the season. All right, so seems like the majority of you kind of want Ravens and 49ers in this thing, potentially. So another texter here to the texter who asked you to look up Anders' numbers. I'll tell you what they are. Almost dead last in field goal percentage and worst in the league in missed extra points. I hope the kid can figure it out, but facts are facts. The kid stunk this year. Okay. I did not look him up, but thank you to the texter who did look that up. I did see I think it was during the game they said, yeah, most missed extra points this year from Anders. I don't think they're going to cut him. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to have patience with him. They're going to see, as Matt LaFleur said it before the game, they're going to see this thing through with him. I know he's an easy kind of target to point the finger at right now. And in a situation like that, you need your kickers to make those kicks. But I don't think they're going to cut him. I think they're going to. He'll be back on the roster next year. Maybe have a little veteran competition with him in camp next year. But I don't expect that that the team will move on from Anders over there. So a couple more messages to get to here. Super Bowl matchup. Give me the 49ers and Ravens. And hopefully the Ravens can win this thing because I can't stand the other three teams left in the postseason. Okay. Can nobody win the Super Bowl this year? Here's another texter. I don't have any rooting interest at all. I'll still watch, but man, do I not want any of these teams to hoist the Lombardi trophy. Man, all right. Some are really upset about this. All right. Going back to what kind of really stood out to you the most or kind of reflecting on the season at hand. A lot of you going with the Jordan Love route. And rightfully so. Jordan Love is probably the top story when we look back at this season. He's probably the top one out there. And I think for at least a majority of fans out there, he by far exceeded anyone's expectations for this year. And I think, and the thing is too, Jordan now has set the bar pretty high. Jordan has set that bar pretty high. Because you go in there, you finish the regular season top 10 in passing yards without a 1,000-yard receiver. 7th overall. You threw the second most touchdown passes this year with rookies and second-year guys. You finished top 10 in QBR. He has now set that bar pretty high on himself for not only this year or for next year, but for the foreseeable future. He surpassed a lot of our expectations this year. He looked pretty darn good. Yes, there was ups and downs. Yes, there was poor decisions. There were some poor plays here and there. But overall, this season, pretty good. And I saw this a little bit earlier that Baker Mayfield now might get $40 to $45 million per year. Baker is on, and Baker had a solid year this year, led the Buccaneers to the postseason. Don't want to take anything away from it. But when you look at Baker and you look at Jordan, if you had to pay one between $40-45 million, and maybe Jordan gets a little bit more, I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan gets a little bit more. But if I was putting in an investment in that, I'd rather give that to Jordan Love, in my opinion. I'd rather give that to Jordan. So just my opinion. But it's going to be, I'm sure there's going to be some critics next year for Jordan because he has set that bar high in his first year starting. And maybe just kind of I'm mentally preparing for this right now. Maybe I'm just doing that right now. But I'm sure there's going to be some critics out there if he either struggles early on in the season or at various points and maybe doesn't match some of the numbers he put up this year. You hope it's just going to get better because of the experience and such. But dude finished top 5, top 10 in a lot of categories for that quarterback position and really set that bar high for the upcoming years here. And I'm sure there's going to be people that hold him to that high standard now too because, hey, we've seen it once. We expect to see it now every single year. Aaron did it. Aaron, for how many years, was amazing. Putting up numbers that are just video game-like. And when he have a little bit down, and I know Aaron had fun with this comment, but he was exactly right. His down years were some people's really good years. Call it an ego comment, call it whatever you want. He was right, though. A lot of his down years are really good years for other quarterbacks. And then, not to say Jordan Love's going to be that type of quarterback. I think we all hope that's the case, but I'm sure there's going to be some people going into next year with Love and saying, all right, you did it that year. You did it this past year. Better see it now every single year. Setting that standard, setting that bar pretty high. But when I look back at this year, when I look back at this season, I look at the growth of this thing. Growth from the players, growth from the coaching staff, Matt LaFleur. You know, we were pretty critical on him in October. You know, we began the season on September 10th, beating Chicago in Chicago. And I was one of those too. I was like, I drank probably a little bit more of the Kool-Aid than I should have after week 1. It's like, oh yeah, and ain't no changing of the guard. And I think I kind of fell into the trash talking trap. You know, you got some Bears fans saying finally Rodgers is gone. You know, we got the better quarterback. Things are going to be different. Fell into it a little bit, and then it's like, no, same old, same old. Transfer the ownership to Jordan Love. Drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid. Atlanta looked like they were going to start season 2-0. Fell off at the end. New Orleans game started off, and then loving that offense make a fantastic comeback in the 4th. You're riding high on a short week into Detroit or into Lambeau. Detroit coming to town. Poo-poo game. Vegas. Poo-poo game. Bye. You're going up against, at that point in time, maybe the league's worst team. You lose to Denver. So many chances against Minnesota on October 29th. Couldn't punch it in. What in the heck is going on with this team? That kind of changed there a little bit. Chargers. Pittsburgh, you fell short. Or excuse me, the Rams, you beat them, but a backup quarterback. Pittsburgh, you fell short. Then it changed a little bit there with that Chargers, Detroit, Kansas City game. But when I look at this season, and you know, we at that beginning where we were really hard on, really critical. Maybe it was because a lot of us put or we drank a little bit more of that Kool-Aid after a Bears win. I was one of them. And then when it went down after that for a little bit, we were very critical of the coaching staff, very critical of Matt LaFleur, very critical of Jordan Love, critical of some of the position coaches. When you look back at it, and how can you not be like, man, what a season of growth, what a season of improvement. I think one of you mentioned that you can't remember another team that just kind of turned it around so much within a season. Maybe you could throw in the Giants of '07, with their Super Bowl teams there too, because remember they started off their season slow and look what happened there. Eli got a couple championships. But the growth from this coaching staff, from LaFleur to, Vrabel, the wide receivers coach, to Dutton, the tight ends coach, Tom Clements, the quarterbacks coach, Butkus, offensive line coach. When you think about it, it's easy to say they're an awful coach or they're an awful play caller when things aren't going right, when things are going really bad or it just doesn't look good. It's easy to say, well, they must be an awful coach. They must be just bad. When you look at it now on the offensive side of things, at least, and you look at what a lot of those position coaches were given by the front office, given by Goody, and said, work with this. This is what you have to work with. Sorry, but it is what it is this year. Vrabel, the wide receivers coach, that room, his veterans were Watson and Romeo. Dutton, it's like, I'll do you one better. My veterans are all rookies, except for Josiah DeGuara. Little H-back kind of, that sort of stuff there. Butkus, okay, you had Bakhtiari for week one, and that was it. Then you had to figure out, is it going to be Yash? Is it going to be Walker? Preseason, you're like, is it going to be Myers? Is it going to be Tom at my center? Who are going to be my guards besides Elton Jenkins? Mixing and matching, trying to figure something out. You look at those position coaches and Tom Clements too. I think you got to give him a lot of credit for the development of Jordan Love this year. But when we look back at it, hindsight 2020, you look back at what these coaches were given and said, work with this group. Make them good players. Develop these guys. It was rough at the beginning. There was some adjustments. There was some growing pains. Probably a lot of teaching moments. Yep, you can do that in camp. You got some time in camp to do that. You can do that in preseason games and such. Once you get on that field and games that matter and things are different and you've got schemes and you got defenses scheming against you, vice versa, you're doing more play, more of your original playbook in that, it's a different ballgame. So when we look back at this and we're reflecting on all the good stuff of Love and the youngsters and all that, don't forget about the job. And I know when we talk about coaching, a lot of people focus on Barry and the defensive side, but don't forget about the job that some of these position coaches did this year, because they did a fantastic job given what they were given. Hey, you're not going to get any veterans. This is a season of transition. We got to take some hits with the cap. Sorry to the receiving group and the tight ends group. You're not getting any veterans, but this is what you got to work with. Quarterbacks, you got Jordan Love, but we're going to give you a rookie backup. This is what you got to work with. And they did a fantastic job. You got to tip your cap to them. One texter in the first hour said, bring everybody back, re-sign them. This team is special. I hope when we get new coaching staffs in place at different teams, nobody poaches any of these offensive assistants for Green Bay because they deserve bonuses, raises, whatever, but I don't want them leaving Green Bay. They did a fantastic job with this group. A fantastic job. And they deserve a ton of credit. We gave them a lot of crap and questioned their coaching a lot in October, beginning part of this season. When we were looking at this offense and being like, what in the heck is going on here? What are we even doing on offense? I remember having that discussion like we didn't have an identity. We didn't know what was going on. What are we watching here? And it was confusing and it was frustrating. And then finally it was like change of mindset. All right. LaFleur's like, let it rip. Not going to try to, maybe protect him or not going to try to dial it back. Let's let it rip. And the floodgates opened. It was like the light bulb went on for everybody. That was a turning point in this season. That Pittsburgh game, I know it kind of gets mentioned quite a bit over there. After that, Adam Stenavich, I think, even mentioned it. Offensive coordinator said in that Pittsburgh game, he kind of could start to see maybe some of it there. But as soon as that coaching staff and Matt LaFleur said, let it rip. It's kind of like Braveheart, right? When he's yelling, hold, and then it was like, go. Turn that light switch on. And it changed. It completely changed. It was like, what the heck? It's like a completely different team over there. What are we watching? But man, let's give some cred to those assistant coaches, to those position coaches here. A lot of times they don't get attention, and I'm sure they're good with it. From fans. I'm sure they would like to get attention maybe from other teams for, promotions and maybe some jobs and that sort of stuff, coordinators, head coaching and that. But as fans, let's give a nice shout out to some of these position coaches because especially on the offensive side, they did a hell of a job. Credit to those guys. Major credit to those guys. Just saw Matt Schneidman covers the Packers for The Athletic. Just a little bit of a PSA note here. Last locker room availability. Oh, that just hits it hard a little bit more, doesn't it? With the finality of sports when it happens. When you're close to maybe moving on and surviving for another week, and then, nope, sorry. Season's over with. When you hear the words last locker room availability. Last locker room availability of the season in Green Bay is in about a half an hour. He said this was about 6 minutes ago, so probably about 9. LaFleur at the podium in a couple of hours. Here's the thing. I'm sure he's going to be asked about Joe Barry. He ain't going to answer questions about Joe Barry's future. I would be shocked if he answers anything about Joe Barry's future in the terms of, yep, he's going to be back next year, or no, he's not going to be back next year. I would be surprised. I would actually be like, holy crap. We actually got an answer less than 48 hours after. So don't expect any of that. I wouldn't expect any of that. What he can say, what is he going to say? Probably just, again, it stings. Good season, a lot of good stuff happening, something to build upon. Excited to get going for next year. Typical coach speak. All right, let's take a final break here. Plenty more to get to here in our final segment. Last call for any text, though. Hit me up. Your reflections, your thoughts on this Packer season. Time to do some quick picks brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Now serving Man Cave Light over there, located just by Banbury Place. Looking for somewhere to catch the games. Championship Sunday. Head on over to the Elbow Room here in Eau Claire and check them out. I'll update the list for some of our picks and predicts on our website. Later on today, I'll include the championship picks on there and probably throw some other stuff on there as well. But and then update the standings and such. Got to do that manually and all that good stuff. It doesn't matter, automatically update. But so give me a little bit of time there. But don't forget this. You can make some picks a little bit later on this week or later on today by visiting sportstalk1051.com and clicking on the Fan Cave tab. It's not the Win tab anymore. It's the Fan Cave tab. Click on that, and you can make your picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Not a lot on the schedule for tonight. College hoops, you got Wake Forest and North Carolina and Cincinnati and Kansas up there. So we're going to kind of pick a couple of basketball games here, NBA games, excuse me. Let's start off with Celtics versus the Mavericks. This is at home where the Mavericks just 13-9, 4 games above 500. But Boston, if there's been one, I guess maybe one little bit of a struggle here has been their road. They finally lost one at home. But 13-9 on the road here. Boston favored by 3.5. Boston wins. I'll roll with Boston, and they cover tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. Bucks are also in action on the road against Detroit. Again, they defeated Detroit on Saturday, where the Bucks had a 141-135 victory on Saturday. Again, defensively for this Bucks team. But Damian Lillard in that game, 45 points, was perfect from the charity stripe, 16-16, and shooting 50% from the field. Also had 11 dimes, 11 assists in that game. I'm going to roll with the Bucks in this one, going up against the Pistons. Bucks are favored by 12.5. I don't think they cover. I'll take the under on that, though. Bucks win, but they don't cover. Okay. Speaking of like some predictions and such, check out last Friday's episode of the Man Cave podcast, brought to you by Toyson Ford and Hy-Vee. Brandon and myself, we made some predictions with where some of the coaching hirings are going to go. One of them we got right, Raiders, sticking with Pierce. So we got that one. But maybe this week we'll get some more hires. Maybe this week the floodgates will kind of open a little bit for some of these head coach hirings. Will Harbaugh make the jump? He's got a second interview with Atlanta. Will it be the Chargers? Will Belichick be at Atlanta? Is there another team that could get in the Belichick sweepstakes? Mike Vrabel, et cetera, et cetera. So we got some predictions over there if you want to check out last Friday's episode of the Man Cave podcast. We'll get another episode up today, a little reflection Monday on that episode. So speaking of which, and again, we'll really focus on off-season stuff in the coming days here for the Pack. But I will say this. If they do decide to make a change at defensive coordinator, I thought it was an interesting point. And it was talked about over the weekend on TV and even online and such. But, the Shanahan style of offense has been an offense that has been having a lot of success throughout the league, right? Throughout the league. It's Rams run it, Packers run it, Houston with Bobby Slowick and such. But after what we saw the Ravens and how they beat the Texans. And then you look at the Ravens and what they were able to do against the 49ers earlier in the season. Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, has had some pretty darn good success against a Shanahan style of offense. Yeah, this was Mina Kimes, and I saved this one. Shanahan offenses have been killing the league this year, and Mike McDonald has been putting all of them through hell. Every owner should want that. Now, that was a good point. Now, I don't know if he's going to get a head coaching job elsewhere. If I was a team looking for a head coach, I'd be, hey, want to come for an interview? We want to talk to you. But if I'm a team looking for a defensive coordinator, am I looking at a defensive coordinator with maybe that kind of background, with that kind of scheme, mindset? You pair that up with a Shanahan style on the offense. See where I'm going here? Packers, they're looking for defensive coordinator. Could they go that route? Go somewhere within the Rams, or excuse me, the Ravens organization? Hey, we want that style of defense. We want that mindset. They're not going to get Mike because he's a defensive coordinator already, and he's not just going to go over to Green Bay. And I doubt the Ravens would move on from him. In fact, if Jim, maybe I doubt it. I doubt John will let him go, but it'd be interesting because Mike was also at Michigan. Mike McDonald got familiar experience with Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh comes back to the NFL. Could he go? Probably not. But you want that style of defense. A defense that's had success against the style of offense that you're running, because the NFL is all about waves. It's a circular, right? Offenses might have a leg up for a few years, and the defense catches up, and then the offense adapts, and then the defense has to catch up again. But I wouldn't be opposed to maybe looking at that Ravens staff and be like, okay, is there somebody on there who's ready maybe to become a defensive coordinator? And could they bring that style to Green Bay? I don't know. That was an interesting point. Got talked about quite a bit over the weekend. So we shall see. Anthony Weaver, he's an assistant head coach, defensive line, and he might be a name to kind of maybe take a look at. He might be a guy. We talk about defensive coordinators and talk about a lot of the names out there that everybody knows, but maybe just kind of pay a little attention to Anthony Weaver. He was a defensive coordinator for a year at Houston, defensive line coach over there too. Spent some time. He was a defensive line coach for Houston for a few years. Worked a lot with J.J. Watt. That's his specialty, is defensive line. Maybe. I don't know. Just trying to find somebody on that staff that is maybe ready to become a defensive coordinator again. So, but that'll be your homework assignments. Okay, kiddos, for the next few days. For all of Packers fans nation, or Packers nation out there, Packers fans out there, you want a new defensive coordinator. That's your main priority this offseason. You want a new defensive coordinator. Who would you target? Now, I know probably a lot of you are going to say Jimmy Leonard. Me personally, I think that ship has sailed. Jimmy had a chance. He had an opportunity. He bypassed it. Maybe now he's more open to it, being away from the game. I mean, kind of a consultant, analyst, whatever the heck his job title was in Illinois. So I'm sure some of you will still say Jimmy Leonard. But is there anybody else? Kind of do some digging around, maybe. Okay, do a little research if you got some time. Put on your scouting caps. And kind of think, okay, is there a style of defense out there right now that you are like, man? Because, some of you have chimed in this morning saying, I would really like Green Bay to kind of do this on defense and have their linebackers do this or their corners do this. Well, is there a defense that does that? And you'd be like, I want me some of that on my defense. What team is that? And maybe kind of look at some of their position coaches, assistant coaches, and be like, that might be the guy. Kind of a hidden gem. It's easy to come out with the names that we already know. The Ejiro Everos. The Mike Zimmers, if you want to go old school. Lovie Smith, if you want to go old school. It's easy for that. But if there's a team that's currently out there, and you're like, I really like what they do on the defensive side, I wouldn't mind bringing that style in. Knowing you're probably not getting, it's in some cases, experience as a coordinator. First time coordinator in some cases, but give me a name. Give me some names. Kind of do a little deep dive into that, all right? So save that. Don't have to text them in now or tweet them or anything like that, all right? Just save them for a little bit. We'll get to it when we get to it, but just have that in your back pocket. That's your homework assignment here, okay? That's going to be your homework assignment. Think about that for a little bit. Heck, if you really want to go with a Wisconsin connection, and sticking with the and sticking with the Ravens. No, never mind. I was looking at something else here. So I thought we had a little breaking news here, but no, we don't there. All right. Just completely, I thought I was going to break some news here, but no, that's okay. So we'll get to that later on, but do a little bit of your research there. Okay. Maybe a Zach Orr from the Ravens, or last name sound familiar with Badger fans? Possibly throwing that out there. So, all right. Also coming up tomorrow, we'll what have we got? Tuesday. So we'll catch up on some things Badgers with Mr. RJ Cardinal. We'll hit that up. Catch up on all things with him, hoops wise, hockey, that sort of stuff. It is also a Raised Place. What's your beef? What's your beef? We only got a couple more weeks with these certificates, so come up with a good what's your beef. I know it's been a lot of positivity this morning here, but if you got something that's kind of what's your beef, what would it be? What would it be? So think about that for tomorrow. Best one wins that hot beef or a hot ham sandwich from the iconic and legendary Raised Place. We'll send you that certificate in the mail right away so you can get on over there and get yourself a hot beef or hot ham sandwich. So that's coming up tomorrow. The What's Your Beef Raised Place Tuesday. We'll recap what Matt LaFleur had to say, or maybe some players if they got some locker room availability in a matter of minutes here. Anything noteworthy, we'll hit that up as well tomorrow. So we'll get to that a little bit later on, and we'll kind of start our offseason, position, player exit interview sort of thing. Players are going to be going through that. Coaches are going to be going through that. We'll kind of do our own version of some exit interviews, and we'll probably kick that off tomorrow. Again, I don't know if we'll do the defensive coordinator one tomorrow yet or not. So if you have texted in, I don't know if you've texted in any. Hold those until we get to those a little bit later on, so we can get that list going on over there too. So, and then don't forget to make your picks when we get those updated on our website, sportstalk1051.com. So, all right. Shot clock's going to cut me off. Big thanks to everybody who chimed in. A lot of positivity here this morning. Love it. Again, I will say this. I'll just end it on this note. I can't remember another year where I've heard from so many Packers fans, or I've seen from so many Packers fans, that there's been this much positivity after a season that ended without a Super Bowl win. I think we're all excited about the future. We're all excited about what could be for the next few years. Quarterback-wise, a lot of you giving a lot of credit to Matt LaFleur in our texting line earlier this morning. A lot of you giving some love to him. Young receivers. There's a lot of optimism. So keep it going. Keep that energy going. Big thanks to everybody who chimed in, whether it was a text, tweet, Facebook message, video stream, comment, all that good stuff. DP and Danitz, they're up next. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your Monday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. See you then.